and I get it. I mean, he's got a nice little acreage, but he doesn't have the setup. I'm like, show goats. It's easy. Buy them, sell them. Show me goats. They're like, really? I'm like, it's the easiest project in the world.
Yeah.
It's the easiest live animal project in the world.
Even goats are getting to be $1,000 a crate.
I know. Yeah.
That's crazy. We're in here, so. Good morning, everyone. I'd like to call to order the September 3rd meeting of the McLeod County Board of Commissioners. We now stand for our Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Again, good morning. We will start with our consideration of agenda items.
No changes, Mr. Chair.
Move to approve the agenda.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Nagel, a second by Kruger to approve today's agenda. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Consent agenda.
No changes, Mr. Chair.
Move consent agenda, Mr. Chair.
Second.
We have a motion by Schmalz, a second by Nagel to approve today's consent agenda. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Moving on to information technology, Matt Troska.
Good morning.
Morning.
I'm here to consider approval of an updated master services agreement with Exigent Solutions of Minneapolis, Minnesota. This updated version reflects requirements under the Minnesota Data Practices Act. Exigent Solutions supports several systems used by McLeod County, and this agreement defines the terms for professional service engagements. This agreement has been reviewed by the County Attorney's Office.
Okay, do we have any questions on the agreement? Anyone?
Move to approve.
Okay. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
We have a motion by Nagel and a second by Kruger to approve today's updated master services agreement with Exigent Solutions. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries.
Consider approving a quote from Exigent Solutions to upgrade our primary storage system for a state contract price of $210,727.14 with funds from the information technology budget. Our current primary storage system is 7 years old and is nearing capacity. This upgrade replaces components that the manufacturer is ending support on and adds additional storage capacity. Additional quotes were requested from Insight Public Sector and SHI, but those quotes were not received.
Move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion by Kruger, a second by Nagel to approve the quote from Exigent Solutions for $210,727.14, funds coming from the information technology budget. Any further discussion?
Mr. Chair.
Go ahead.
Question for Matt. Hey, Matt, you asked for additional quotes from a couple other contractors, and they did not quote. Is that because we're using a state contract with Exigent Solutions, and that they feel that they can't be competitive with quoting?
Both Insight Public Sector and SHI are on state contract as well. Why they specifically did not provide a quote, I'm not certain.
Okay, good. Thank you, Matt.
Mr. Chair?
Go ahead.
Same question I had. And just a comment that the reason I didn't question it anymore is because they're working within the state contract. Some of the other ones I question are not
Okay.
held to that.
Okay, any further questions or comments on the motion? Seeing none, I'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Item C, consider approving the statement of work from Exigent Solutions for installation of the primary storage system upgrades at a cost of $10,882.47 with funds from the information technology budget. This statement of work is for professional services for the installation of the primary storage system upgrade.
Mr. Chair, I'll move request.
Okay. We have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Let's see, motion by Schmaltz, second by Nagel to consider approving the statement of work from Exigent Solutions for a cost of $10,882.47. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. We have a public hearing quoted for 9:15, and so we actually have to wait until that time before we can see that. So, Andrew, would you, yeah, Andrew, would you like to come with your other public works items until that time?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Requesting for the board to consider approving the purchase of 3 AED units from AED Center and 3 AED outdoor cabinets from AED.US at a total estimate cost of $7,090.64 with funds coming from the Parks budget as well as the American Rescue Plan Act funds. As outlined in the Parks plan, outdoor AED units were recommended for all 6 county parks as an important safety feature. In focusing on our most visited parks, the plan is to start with the installation of units at Lake Marion, Piepenburg, and Stalls Lake Park. The estimated cost of 3 AEDs is $5,346.29, and the estimated cost of the 3 cabinets is $1,744.35. An estimate was also received from American AED for $6,663.44 for the 3 AEDs themselves, and then another estimate was received for 3 outdoor cabinets from AED Superstore for $1,837.18. We were successful in receiving a grant of $3,500 from the I.J. Birch Family Foundation to cover the cost of the installation at Piepenburg Park and to assist with the cost of the installation at Lake Marion Park.
Okay, a couple things I just want to point out on this agenda item. Through our parks plan, that was several months of public input. It was indicated that the AED units be at the parks. So thank you for the public that brought that forward to make sure that we have these safety devices in the right place, in the right spots where the public comes to enjoy our park systems. And then, of course, using the ARPA dollars here. And the last item, to definitely acknowledge a big thank you to our community partners that make these things happen with the I.J. Birch Family Foundation donation as well, helping assist us in these efforts. So, but we will need a motion to approve the purchase then.
So moved.
We have a motion, is there a second?
I'll second it.
We have a motion by Nagel and a second by Kruger to approve the purchase of the 3 AED units and cabinets for a total cost estimate of $7,090.64. Is there any further discussion?
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead.
can you, John, what was the security? We talked about it in the workshop. Is there any security to these cabinets or?
There is like a flashing light and a loud siren when they are opened, so,
Okay,
you know, if somebody's
that's
in the
fine.
area, people are gonna look to see if somebody's tampering with it, but they are open.
I couldn't, yeah, and they had to, just for what they are, they have to be. But I remember we discussed it and I knew there was something and I couldn't remember. Thank you.
Yep.
Mr. Chair?
Go ahead.
And John, do we have a timeline or a time frame on which we'll supply the other county parks with these ADE units as well?
We'll probably
AED
come back
units?
next summer for those. These we would still like to get installed in the next, few weeks yet for the remainder of the fall, but next summer we'll look at the other parks.
Okay, thank you, John.
Yep.
Any further discussion on the motion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Morning.
Please consider rejecting bids for CP 240001 countywide pavement marking project. One bid was received from Sir Lancelot LLC for this project for $279,021.69, with the engineer's estimate of $144,028.26. This was brought to the board at the last meeting, and since then, myself and the budget committee met and determined to recommend to reject this bid.
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead.
I know I was probably the one that brought it up the most on the, because it's twice as high as the engineer's estimates, and I appreciate Andrew's work on this, and I'd move to approve his request to deny the bid.
Second.
We have a motion by Kruger and a second by Nagel to reject bids for the countywide pavement marking project. Any further discussion?
Mr. Chair?
Go ahead.
Before we proceed with our vote, Andrew, I mean, can you give us a little bit of an outline on what we're going to do moving forward if we reject this bid?
Yep. Item D on the agenda here is to authorize staff to go out for quotes for a pavement marking project not to exceed $50,000. And this would be to address the worst of the worst as far as pavement marking conditions on roads and to address the major safety issues.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
Go ahead.
So what you're telling us is we're still moving forward and finding a plan to keep the roads safe. And
Correct.
thank you.
Okay, any further discussion on the motion to reject bids? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Item C, consider rejecting bids for SP 043-070-022, 024, and 025, ground-in wet reflective pavement markings, rumble strips, and 6-inch edge line pavement marking project. One bid was received from Surface Preparation Technologies out of Kingstown, Pennsylvania for $906,474.08. No other bids were received for this project. The engineer's estimate was $336,206.36. This was a federal highway safety improvement project. These were treatments that were identified in the County Road Safety Plan, and these funds were applied for numerous years ago before we had a giant increase in pavement marking costs. And we were tied to that federal money. We cannot increase our federal funds, and because the bid was so high, I am recommending to reject those bids.
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead.
thanks, Andrew, for your work on this, and I mean, it speaks for itself, so with that, I'll move to approve the rejection of the bid.
Second.
We have a motion by Kruger and a second by Schmalz to reject the bids for the ground-in wet reflective pavement markings project. Any further discussion?
Mr. Chair?
Go ahead.
Andrew, is this a point of discussion when it goes to MnDOT or District 8 on these increasing costs for striping?
Yep.
What's the discussion?
You know, the discussion is right now we have one major player in the market at the current moment, and so there's really not a whole lot we can do as far as pricing, as far as the federal funds go. That's kind of a jumble with getting your hands tied on once they're in the STIP, it's in the STIP and it's hard to change it. So we're working through that process going forward.
Mr. Chair?
Go ahead.
Follow-up question, Andrew. Will we be seeking bids for the ground-in pavement marking early next year?
No, we had a sunset date on the federal funds, which was the 2024 fiscal year, or 2023 federal fiscal year, 2024 federal fiscal year, which ended September 1st. So we are returning those federal funds and will apply again in the future.
And then, Andrew, what's the timeline as far as seeking federal funds to try and complete this work?
Generally, that's a 2 to 3 to 4 year out process. There's a solicitation sent out and applications put in, and then the statewide Highway Safety Improvement Committee approves or makes the selection for the projects.
Good. Satisfied, Mr. Chair?
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Andrew.
Good questions. All right, we do have a motion then to reject those bids. And any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Item D, consider authorizing Public Works staff to request quotes for pavement markings not to exceed $50,000. These quotes will be brought back to the board for consideration at the next board meeting.
Move to approve.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
We have a motion by Nagel and a second by Kruger to consider authorizing Public Works to request quotes for pavement markings not to exceed $50,000. Any further discussion?
Mr. Chair?
Go ahead.
I kind of reserved this remark until now because they're all tied together in my opinion. And or B and C, are all tied together. And I thank Andrew, for working with us in the budget committee, and we talked some of this through. I really don't know what's gonna happen with these extremely high bids, in my opinion. And we're gonna have to either reset or hopefully the word is out that, I mean, they're just too high. I mean, I don't know how or what to increase competition, or what, but the reason I applaud him so much is he did, him and his staff isolated the most in need and the most war, or I hate to use the word dangerous, but were pointed out. And truth be told, we might pay as much per foot as this bid would have cost us, but at least we're prioritizing what needs to be done, and we'll look at it through the winter. So thanks, Andrew.
Very good. Any other questions or concerns on the motion?
Mr. Chair?
Go ahead.
Andrew, with us seeking a quote versus a bid now, as far as striping goes, does that open the door to other contractors to look at doing the work?
Yes, it opens the door. There are two companies that are semi-local in the Dassel-Cokato area that have just started doing pavement markings, and the smaller quantity kind of opens the door to them to be able to bid the work.
Thank you, Andrew. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you. Any further questions? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Item E, consider approving the joint powers agreement with the city of Glencoe for the 2025, it should say, joint reconstruction project on Hennepin Avenue. This agreement defines various rights, obligations, and cost shares of the project. It's a very similar agreement to what's been done in the past, specifically the Morningside Roundabout project.
Mr. Chair?
Go ahead.
This agreement, other than the logistics of it, doesn't specifically honor any, there's nothing built in there that we're gonna do any specific thing. It just ties, or it's just giving us a joint powers per se to work together.
It identifies who's doing what for the project and who's paying for what.
Very well. With that, I'll make a motion to approve the agreement.
Second.
We have a motion by Kruger and a second by Schmaltz to consider approving a joint powers agreement with the city of Glencoe for the 2024 joint reconstruction project on Hennepin Avenue. Is there any further discussion?
Mr. Chair?
Go ahead.
I did review the agreement, and I didn't see anything that specifically would tie our hands. I think some of the questions that we raised at a workshop a couple of months ago were taken care of in this newly formulated agreement, so I was satisfied with the language and the direction it's going. Thank you.
Yep, and I will add that we are working on a joint city council and county board meeting to discuss some of those issues that have been discussed in the past.
Okay, any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Thank you.
Okay, then we are now able to get into our public hearing, so we will need a motion to open that. If we have a motion open, is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion by Nagel, second by Schmaltz to open today's public hearing. Any further discussion on that? We'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Maybe call on our attorney first to go through an outline of the proceedings, so that'd be in order.
That's just fine. Thank you, Mr. Chair. So the purpose of this public hearing is essentially to comply with the statute setting forth the county's ability to acquire land, engage in things like property swaps. In this particular case, it's statute 373.01 subdivision 1, and paragraph E defines the process that needs to be followed by a county if it's engaging in a property swap. One of the final pieces of that is to have a public hearing to allow for public comment so that the board can take public input prior to taking any action. So we've done the pieces leading up to this. Perhaps we'll hear a little bit of elaboration from that if the department, if needed. It's also provided in the agenda as far as values and the steps that have been taken to date. So this is now the public's opportunity to comment. Upon hearing those comments and closing the public hearing, the board will have an option to either approve the proposal, table it for further consideration, or deny it. So, thank you.
Mr. Jervik, go ahead and explain the
Sure.
content today.
Yep, so as Ryan mentioned, we're looking at a property swap between McLeod County and Charles Guzman, as he mentioned, permitted by Minnesota Statute 373.01. So Mr. Guzman had approached the county late in 2023 that some park boundary signs were located on his property, and after doing some investigation and meeting with him, we discussed the option to exchange the parcels, which is permitted. We thought this would be a good option moving forward. Very similar parcels, right? We were already using that piece as park property, and the piece that the county actually owned, we weren't using. And he agreed that he had an interest in doing so. We considered this an advantageous thing for the county to consider, as we would now have one contiguous piece of property versus a separate piece across the road, which could create some safety concerns with park goers if they were to be crossing that road. It is a curved road as well, so some sightline issues there. And as Ryan mentioned, both properties have been surveyed with legal descriptions drafted. The assessor's office has reviewed the parcels and provided estimated values. Parcel 1, which is owned by McLeod County, it has an estimated value of $3,900, and Parcel 2, which is owned by Mr. Guzman, has an estimated value of $2,400. And we did provide notice in the official newspaper on the 16th of August, and then also posted as well in the auditor treasurer's office. So.
Okay. All right. Any questions or comments from any board members or anyone here that is from the public, excuse me, that is here today? Questions or comments? Anyone? If you could just have you come up to the mic, just to give your name and
Good morning.
morning.
Congressman. One concern I do have is, okay, I don't know if you guys have the maps up, but there's still the piece across Zion, okay? So that will stay with our trust, correct?
Correct.
What borders the lake is ours, and I do believe the DNR is using that also, so I don't know how this all got split up. But if they're using that trail, which is fine, but I think at some point too, it should get together with the DNR. Because if something would happen on that property, legally it's my property. Okay.
Yeah, if you look at the,
I mean, it goes.
yep, this piece would still remain yours. It's just.
Yeah,
this, yep.
but you know what I mean, where the trestle site comes in and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know, down the road, maybe that should be looked at. Not today, but you know what I'm saying. I did contact the DNR, the lady once or twice, but she never got a hold of me, so.
Mr. Chair.
Go ahead.
And Chuck, thanks for coming in today. The piece you're referencing is between Zion and the trail?
Yes.
Okay, and it's not identified on the map we have in front of us today?
No, we aren't looking to swap that portion.
Perfect, thanks for that explanation.
So, yeah, but there is, on that one corner too, there is park signs on that side.
Okay.
So.
Yep, we'll take care of that.
That's.
Yep.
And I do have one more concern, or question. I approached my neighbor on this deal, this spring that we were gonna do this, and he's been like just, he's basically,
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but they can't hear you on video. Can you, John, could you turn that microphone on for him, please? Thank you. I apologize.
Okay, so since I did this, this spring, we kept a piece up in that field. That was kind of the plan. We were gonna come in with a driveway. The reason I want this piece is because we're gonna come off the road with the driveway, which the highway department, there is room there. But since I did this, my neighbor has moved several pieces of farm machinery, junk, everything across his field all the way up to this property line and just lets it sit there. And he told me basically if I build a house there, is there any recourse as a landowner that you can do anything? I mean, we're not even there yet, and the guy's just, and I know he's in violation of a lot of things, but I really don't want to start a war with my neighbor, you know?
Mr. Chair? Yeah. I mean, yeah, I understand your concern, Mr. Gutzman, but I think that's not a discussion
Right,
that we can pursue
I understand
here
that.
during our hearing. Am I
Right.
correct on that, County Attorney?
Yeah, I mean, I was just going to say that same thing. I mean, it's kind of beyond the purview of this hearing, which
Sure,
I know
sure.
you even
That's not why
acknowledged
I'm
and-
here, and I understand that, but is there something that a person could do, not today, but I mean, do I have rights as a landowner if somebody's trying to deface your property like that?
Well, I mean, certainly every landowner has rights. Now, whether that's a civil matter or if it's, something beyond that, it would be fact specific. I mean, I wouldn't be able to, advise
Sure.
you on that here, but, something that, I mean, you may want to consult with either a private attorney about, or.
I mean,
if
I don't
those
want to get
concerns
into
come to
something and then
fruition.
have somebody,
Right.
it can get ugly and it does. I mean, I want to get along with my neighbors. There's no reason you shouldn't, but you always have that. So that's all I have as far as the trade. That'd be fine by me, so.
Sir, the commissioner likes to oversimplify stuff. Are you okay with the trade?
Yes,
Thank you.
This, Mr. Chair,
Yep.
it's too bad too. I mean, that somebody would be that way. To me, it's not in my area, but looking through it, and we've talked about this several times, the safety aspect of not having to cross the road, I don't exactly know the usage, but it makes it practical, so I don't understand why someone would. It's, again, too bad, and before you go to attorneys, I just check our ordinances and see, after it's all cut and dried, where the boundaries are, and see what you have, what the rules are. Mark's here, but like we said, it's not the time to go through this all, but I would check with him and see what your ordinances are and see what can be done, if anything.
okay,
Other
appreciate
than
it.
that, I don't, I looked at it pretty much on the safety part. It just made sense not having to have people going back and forth across the road.
Well, I didn't even realize that one day my kids were on the acres map and they go, Dad, the part of the land is in the park. And I think what happened, when that road was made, I think Dad gave him easement because that road used to never go through our farm. And if you look at the property lines, that's kind of how they were cut off. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Because Zion was the only road and then it would go through the woods. So I believe that's probably how that got
Sure.
left off. And as far as taxes or anything, it should almost be a wash, correct?
Sure. Way it looked.
Yeah.
That's the way it looks, yeah.
Mr. Hanch, we can take action today, or does there have to be another hearing for this?
I mean, once the public hearing is closed, you can certainly take final action today if the board's prepared. You have the option of pushing it out to a future one, but nothing would require that.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Thank you for
Thank
coming
you.
forward. Are there any additional questions or comments from anyone that's here this morning? Okay, then,
Move to close the public hearing.
okay, we have a motion to close. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion by Kruger, second by Nagel to close the public hearing. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Up to an action item. Are we ready to take one on this?
I am, Mr. Chair, I move to approve the swap request.
Okay,
And I'll second it, Mr. Chair.
okay, we have a motion by Nagel and a second by Schmaltz to consider approving the land transfer for parcels owned by McLeod County and Charles Gutzman as permitted by Minnesota State Statute 373.01. Is there any further discussion on the motion?
Mr. Chair.
Go ahead.
Before we vote on the motion, I want to thank the Gutzman family for bringing this to our attention. I think it's a benefit for both parties to clean up the boundaries and identify those boundaries and where they should lie. The Gutzman family is a very good partner to McLeod and the community of Winston, and I look to approve the request as presented. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, good comments. Any further discussion on the motion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Guthman, for coming today.
Thank you.
Next up on our board agenda will be environmental services. Mark.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Two items for your consideration this morning, both conditional uses. Item A is to consider approving conditional use permit 24-12 as requested by Joe White of B&H Aggregate, 10492 135th Street, Kimball, Minnesota, to mine gravel and granular material, including crushing and hauling for the State Highway 212 project on property owned by Don Scott, 4436 100th Street, Plato, Minnesota, located in part of the southeast quarter of the southwest quarter and part of the south half of the southeast quarter, located in the agricultural district of Section 16, Helen Township. The Board of Helen Township approved this request at their July 11th, 2024 meeting. The McLeod County Planning Commission recommended approval on August 28th, 2024 with the following conditions. Number one, the applicant shall submit a bond or letter of credit to McLeod County Environmental Services by October 1st, 2024 in the amount of $35,000. That number comes from $1,000 per acre for reclamation standards, comes out of the McLeod County zoning ordinance. Number two, hours of operation are Monday through Friday, 6:30 a.m. to 7:30 p.m. and Saturday shall be permitted as needed with a 24-hour notice to McLeod County Environmental Services. Saturday hours shall be 7 a.m. to 1 p.m. Number three, the applicant shall meet all state NPDES permit system requirements, that is a National Pollution Discharge Elimination System for stormwater, and apply for a DNR dewatering permit if needed. Number four, the applicant shall restore the pit area to a minimum of 8 to 1 side slope, 12% for farming purposes. Number five, McLeod County Environmental Services shall inspect all restoration work completed and approve with a letter acknowledging completion to release the bond or letter of credit back to the applicant. Number six, the applicant shall follow all mining standards contained in Section 16 of the McLeod County zoning ordinance, if not further restricted by this permit. Number seven, the applicant shall repair or replace any damaged drain tile. Number eight, the pit haul route shall be dust controlled when in use. Number nine, mining shall not occur closer than 60 feet to the center of 100th Street, which is a township road, nor 10 feet from the side and rear property lines. Number 10, no stockpile shall be placed in the 100-year floodplain or floodway, and stockpile heights shall not exceed 60 feet. That is what we have from the Planning Commission as a recommendation.
Mr. Chair,
Okay, yes.
and it was my request that Mark present these, and thank you for doing that, Mark. And I just am glad that we're able to find aggregate or fill or gravel, however you want to put it, that's cutting the cost of some of our road repairs. These are both in my district, this one and B. The only questions, or the main questions that I had, were that they will return to ag land after this is over, and that is all spelled out here, so I appreciate that.
Yep.
With that, I move to approve.
Doug's okay with it, so am I. Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Kruger and a second by Nagel to consider approving conditional use permit 24-12. Any further discussion? Seeing none, we will proceed to vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Item B, consider approving conditional use permit 24-13 as requested by Joe White of B&H Aggregate, 10492 135th Street, Kimball, Minnesota, for a new mining CUP on property owned by Curtis Templin and Kevin Coors. The primary haul route will be west on 90th Street to Dairy Avenue, which is County Road 1, and then north to Highway 212. The applicant will reclaim the pit area by December 26th. Clean material from Highway 212 4-lane project will be used to backfill the pit. The Helen Township Board recommended approval of this request at their July 11th, 2024 meeting, the McLeod County Planning Commission recommended approval on August 28th, 2024 with the following conditions. Number one, the applicant shall submit a bond or letter of credit to McLeod County Environmental Services by October 1st, 2024 in the amount of $31,000. Number two, hours of operation are Monday through Friday, 6:30 a.m. to 7:30 p.m. and Saturdays shall be permitted as needed with a 24-hour notice to McLeod County Environmental Services. Saturday hours shall be 7 a.m. to 1 p.m. Number three, the applicant shall meet all state, national pollution discharge elimination services and PDS requirements and apply for a DNR dewatering permit if needed. Number four, the applicant shall restore the pit area to a minimum of 8-to-1 or 12% side slopes for farming purposes. Number five, the McLeod County Environmental Services shall inspect all restoration work completed and approve with a letter acknowledging completion to release the bond or letter of credit back to the applicant. Number six, the applicant shall follow all mining standards contained in section 16 of the McLeod County zoning ordinance, if not further restricted by this permit. Number seven, the applicant shall repair or replace any damaged, damaged tile line. Number eight, the pit haul route shall be dust controlled when in use. Number nine, the mining shall not occur closer than 60 feet to the center of 90th Street, nor 10 feet from the side and rear property lines. And number 10, the stockpile height shall be 60 feet or less. So with that being said, both of these pits are for the same project. Joe will be starting with this pit. Joe White will be starting with this pit. It's the one furthest to the south. Intent is to be in and out of these by no later than December 2026 is what he had put on his mining reclamation standards for us. And Joe's here if you'd like to hear from him. But he will be starting on this, take the material out of this and try to get this back, hopefully by midsummer of next year if approved. And then he would move up to the pit that you acted on first up at Don Scott's a little bit north of there. And that would be the completion of the project.
Mr. Chair?
Go ahead.
John, is it?
Joel?
Joe, I'm sorry. I'm glad you came today. I have no questions. It's all spelled out in there, and my reason for this request was, or to present it was to, for transparency and some questions that might come up later that are all covered in these items. So again, thanks for coming, and Mark, thanks for doing that. With that, I move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion by Kruger and a second by Nagel to consider approving conditional use permit 24-13. Any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for coming, Mr. White. We'll now move on to county administration. We'll have a review of our calendars. Commissioner Nagel?
Mr. Chair, just a couple things I want to bring up. The first is a project north of Hutchinson that I've talked ad nauseum about that we can't seem to get done. It's a ditch project. It felt to me, and I think the other commissioners would agree, as a pretty simple project, one of the best landowner meetings we've ever had as far as compromise and agreements and participation. And I need to apologize to the landowners regarding this because I don't know what's happening. I think I've tracked it down to the engineering firm, and I just wanted to let the board know that this morning I've asked for a future workshop item regarding this because the customer service in this has been, in a word, terrible. So mistakes happen, I get that. I hate them, but they happen. Things get, there's oversight sometimes, but this just seems more than that. So I just wanted to bring that up, that I have asked for that to go over that issue. And in this moment in time, I would honestly not be in favor of using that firm, considering what's going on. I reserve the right to change my mind on that, but maybe it's just the anger I have for it right now. On a more positive note, I got to be at the Minnesota State Fair for a few days. I'm not going to steal Commissioner Wright's thunder because he gives a way better report on these types of things than I do. But what I want to point out is the 4-H'ers and F-fairs, for that matter, that I saw down there from McLeod County, they have no idea who I am, and that's just fine, and that's a good thing. But how they conducted themselves and how they presented their projects, I was mainly in the livestock area, but was second to none, and to them and to their parents, congratulations, and they represented us very well. That's all I got.
Okay, thank you. We did have a budget committee meeting last week, and that was referred to when we talked about the line striping project and what we did with that. After that, I can just report on the fairs, and thank you for that entrance on that, Commissioner Nagel. County Fair, we can start there, and we'll have more of a detailed description of the youth projects, the 4-H program, most likely in October when our coordinator will come in with some 4-H kids. But people all over, people enjoying it. The weather was agreed very nicely. A little bit of rain on the one in there, but one of the fair board members came by and said, just look at all the people, And I said, yeah, there's people everywhere. And he had mentioned, well, I make sure and tell everybody. I tell everybody that make sure and say thank you to the county commissioners for making this an open gate and using those dollars for that. And I thought, well, I don't hear that very often, but it took not only board action here, but it took all of our staff, and it took the fair board member and some others involved in that process. But it was nice to see, excuse me, how many people come out to just enjoy their community and part of that county fair offering. And so then off to the state fair. And so this is my time to give a report, as I've done every year, on how our 4-H kids, how their placings are. And as I've said in the past, when McLeod County sends our 4-H kids to the state fair, we do extremely well. We had approximately 90 kids, I think the number was, exhibiting in the different livestock projects. I do not have their general project placings here today, because some of that judging was just a few days ago, and it takes a little while to get the data. But between the beef and the dairy, the swine, goats, the poultry, rabbits, a lot of kids, a lot of great kids, and some pretty awesome project animals. So I'm just going to hit some of the high points of those placings that those individuals did. And when I talk about being an interview finalist, that is every youth that goes to the state fair. It's not just there to display your project. You also are part of a process of there's learning and education that goes both ways. So all the kids have to go through an interview. And they're asked a lot of questions about their project, the industry, 4-H, and then if you get to be a finalist, that means that you are selected as a handful that is on the very, very top side. And then there's, of course, a winner from each division, but just to be a finalist is quite a statement to make. Showmanship. This is a very intense contest that talks about how well you show your animal in the ring and how kind and courteous you are to other exhibitors and the judge. And then when I talk about herdsmanship, that is an award that is based on how cleanly your stalls are, how clean your animals are, again, how kind and courteous you are to those exhibitors, and those conversations that you have with many people that come to the state fair that may not be very familiar with animal agriculture, but these kids are stepping forward and they're having those conversations. So we had a total of 14 purple ribbons. To get a purple ribbon, you have to be the best of the best in your classes. And so out of all these animals that went there, we had 14 purples that were distributed throughout the dairy, the beef, the goats, and so forth that were down there. If we look at the beef project areas, McLeod County kids displayed a champion Charolais heifer, a reserve champion Black Angus cow-calf pair, and we also had 2 interview finalists within those beef project exhibitors. When we look at the dairy animals, the dairy kids that went down, we had the champion Ayrshire heifer. We had showmanship of both 2 third places. One of those was in what we call advanced, one intermediate, and then 10th place showmanship. We had the champion dairy show person. Now that's the top. That's the big award. The champion dairy show person in the senior division. We had reserve champion Jersey heifer. We had and 2 interview finalists. If we look at the goats, we had a champion lightweight dairy market wether. That's the best that there is right there. We had 1 interview finalist and again a champion advanced dairy market wether showmanship. So that young person did an awesome job of showing that animal to get the top award at the state level. We look at the poultry, we had a champion egg production with the pen of chickens. We had the 8th place senior poultry show person and 1 interview finalist. In the rabbit division, we had a champion Rex. And in the swine division, we had the gilt show person advanced division with 4th place in that showmanship contest and 1 interview finalist. On the herdsmanship side, that's the ability to keep your area clean, you're kind, you're courteous at all times. For the 3rd year in a row, McLeod County kids have taken the overall, that is a composite score of all of these livestock exhibits that are there. 3rd year in a row, McLeod County brought home the champion, the #1 spot ribbon. So there's a lot to be proud of there. Outside of the 4-H, we had 2 young ladies, one of them my daughter, that was in the Princess K of the Milky Way contest. And if you watch the news, Rachel Visser of McLeod County is the new dairy spokesman for the state of Minnesota. So that's pretty cool. In the end, this shows the quality of people that are behind our program, behind our youth programming, and these 4-Hers did a heck of a job at the state fair. So that wraps up my talk for this morning on that.
Thank you, Commissioner Wright. I am not going to make any more comments on it because you did such a great job, but other than, I think, I hope that we as a county board helped a little bit to promote McLeod County and these kids, and I in my heart feel that we have. I mean, it's just by, if nothing else, by holding them with the new fairgrounds and buildings and promoting them. So, thank you. Since last meeting, we had a board workshop. After the 20th meeting, I had a Buffalo Creek Watershed a meeting and public hearing, and that hearing consisted of the central ditch here in Glencoe, which is the drainage ditch by the ponds north of the city of Glencoe. Again, it was more of a input and informational meeting. It went surprisingly well, but it's just a start. I also had a budget committee meeting, and I also had on the 28th an HRA meeting. And at that HRA meeting, we did talk about the rising rent costs, the housing shortages, and budget items, and some HUD information that the funding in HUD is getting very low, which is not surprising to me, but it's just things to watch. And as far as I'm proud of our HRA here in McLeod County, we're doing pretty well, but there are some challenges coming down the road. And I had the agenda review, and that brought us up to today. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Kruger, for your report. On Tuesday, August 20th, we held a workshop here after our regular board meeting at the Government Center. On Thursday, the 22nd, I had a UCAP meeting. I was able to attend that by Zoom versus driving to Redwood Falls. On Friday, the 23rd, we had Community Health Board Executive Committee Zoom meeting to prepare for our Joint Powers Board that was held last week. On Wednesday, the 28th, Director Olson and I did agenda review for the meeting that we held as a Joint Powers Board meeting of CHB, Meeker McLeod Sibley, on Thursday, the 29th, right here at Glencoe Government Center. And lastly, I want to congratulate all the families from McLeod County in the success that they showed, not just at the county fair, but at the state fair as well. And a special shout out to our 2 Princess K finalists, McKenna, and also our Princess K of the Milky Way, Rachel. They will represent the dairy industry in the state of Minnesota very well. Thank you to them and their families. That's what I got, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you. Attorney's Office, anything today? Okay, back to administration.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Item A, notification of board workshop following the board meeting on Tuesday, September 17, 2024, at the McLeod County Government Center here at 520 Chandler Avenue North, Glencoe, Minnesota. That's it.
Okay, that does bring us to the end of our agenda this morning. Is there anyone that wishes to approach the board for open forum or press relations? Don't see anyone here this morning, so we'll now be looking for a motion to recess.
Move recess, Mr. Chair.
Second.
We have a motion by Schmalz and a second by Nagel to recess until our next county board meeting, 9 a.m. Tuesday, September 17th at the McLeod County Government Center. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Thank you. We'll break for a few minutes and then we'll start with our workshop agenda.
You said you had,